So what I'm going to do for the next wee while is talk about taking your genealogy studies a bit further and looking at what we offer at Strathclyde, but also looking at some things from the university as well. So, sorry, the university from FutureLearn, but also looking at some other postgraduate, well, not postgraduate, online providers. And these are providers that I've particularly had experience with, but there are lots of other ones out there as well. So and then I'm going to wrap up by talking about some ideas about what you all can do from home while we are all spending so much extra time at home at the moment. And happy to take questions. We'll try to do those at the end so I can get through this and then take some questions at the end. And then in the next hour, so at 4:10, Graham's going to join me, and we'll look at some DNA questions. We've got lots of questions from the forum on FutureLearn. And again, if you've got questions as we're going along during that second half of the Zoom project, then we'll happy to take those too. So. Okay, so so that's just what we're going to have a look at. So talking about the University of Strathclyde in particular, we've got a variety of pathways for people who are wanting to do extra work. Primarily, we have our 8-week online courses, which are posted more for the beginner to intermediate level. And then we do have the postgraduate program, which leads to a master's degree. So just depends on kind of what you're interested in and what level of study you're wanting to go for. So our beginner to intermediate 8-week courses, they're offered typically 3 times during the year. They are online entirely, although if you are in the Glasgow area, we do have some of these that are available on campus normally, although obviously this April those aren't happening, everything's online. So this April, everything's starting on the 20th of April. And these have a Scottish focus, but do look at UK-wide resources. And then we are offering in April one genealogy course. Typically we have 2. The one that we're offering in April is a course that looks at different types of testing. So autosomal Y, the mitochondrial testing, and gets into some other less used tests as well. But then we've got an intro to family history research using technology and beyond the basics. Now, those have grown out of our on-campus courses, so they do have more of a Scottish flavor, but are firmly bedded in British sources. So we're also looking at England and Ireland as well. But the using technology in particular is really quite useful for anybody anywhere. The teacher of those 3 core classes is Marie, who you'll see, I think it might be next week on the course. Maybe she's already come. Anyway, she's an excellent tutor and really knows her stuff. So you can sign up for those online. There's no entry requirements for those courses. Like this course, it helps to have a stronger internet connection and to know how to use the internet. But we use the university's virtual learning environment for that. So it looks a bit different than FutureLearn, but still you log in, you download the materials, there's some interaction with the tutor, and you can decide to do an assignment or not. So you can take these for credit or not, that's up to you. But there are £184 per 8-week course, and there's a lot more information online about those. And I've got the URL up here, but what I'll do, actually, I think what I'm going to do, because there was a suggestion about sharing the slides for these presentations. So what I'll do is after this is done, I'll put up the slides as a downloadable resource from the Zoom the step in FutureLearn. So yeah, so you'll have those URLs to register online. So moving on to the master's degree, so the postgraduate program. So it's really, we're trying to get people out the other end really firmly grounded in genealogical research techniques. We're looking at getting people comfortable with doing research at a professional level. Now, I would say probably, I don't know, 3/4 of the students who come on are interested in doing work for people professionally, and you know that varies. Some people come on and they're not interested in doing work for people, and then they change their minds, or come and do the other thing, the other way around. And we don't really care if you're wanting to do it for money or not, but we teach at that level, so that professional level. And really look at getting in the first sort of section of the master's degree, which is the first 60 credits, giving you a real strong grounding in British research. So looking at, as well as the records and the resources, the history behind them, how to use them, but also really a firm grounding in technique, which you're getting an introduction to through this FutureLearn course. But we look more at things like referencing and ethics, how to communicate with clients, writing research reports, using genealogy software. So just a whole host of things. We get into genetic genealogy further, which will fill some of you with horror, but some of you will be really excited by that. um, and if we get into Latin and heraldry, it's just a bit of everything. And by British, we actually mean England and Scotland, as well as Ireland, although I know that's not, although Northern Ireland, anyway, no, that's a minefield, I'll not go there. And sort of look at the British Isles. But as you go along in the master's degree, you're able to start choosing your own focus. So if there's a particular area of the world that you're interested in, you can start choosing research topics that reflect that interest. So while we are British based, we try to be as flexible as possible for people and their interests. So. Okay, I was talking about sort of those 3 steps and alluding to that first 60 credits, which is the postgraduate certificate. Paul is asking, does it take in goons? We do talk about one name studies, yeah. So you could easily use what we talk about on the course for using, you're doing a one name study, absolutely. So the first 60 credits postgraduate certificate focused on UK records and research. Diploma, start reaching out into other areas of the world. So doing things like Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, different time periods. We get into medieval research. That is the point at which you start having a lot more choice in what you're looking at. So some of the assessments is where you have the choice. So you can choose, for example, to do either an area study or a house or building study. And you can choose the area, or you can choose the house or building. So again, that can be in whatever area of the world you're interested in. You also are asked to do a client study. So you're actually working with a person and doing research for them. So again, that person could be based anywhere, or their family could be have come from anywhere. And then on that level, you're asked to do a smaller academic research project. That, again, the topic you choose, but it's much more than just doing a family bit of research. So like a client study. What we ask you to do is to come up with an academic sort of research question, if you like, and explore that. Typically, a lot of those have social history elements, but there needs to be a firm genealogical base to that too. And we walk you through how to come up with those questions and research projects. So. And then the MSc, so you can wrap up by getting a full master's degree, and that MSc step is the dissertation. So that's 12 to 16,000 words. Again, that's an academic research focus, and you choose that topic with a lot of help from the tutors in doing that. So you can do all of this in a full-time, part-time, or modular fashion. There's a lot of real detail around all of those different choices. They start at different times in the year. On our website, there's a frequently asked questions document which goes into all of those options in great detail. So I encourage you to look at that. And again, on these slides, the link to that website will be there. So you can, if you're in the United Kingdom, get student loans for the part-time or the full-time versions. So, and again, depending on where you are in the UK, the options will be different. So you need to have a look at the student loan provider in your area. So master's degree is entirely online. We've got written lectures, multimedia presentations. So the multimedia presentations are kind of like the videos that you've been watching throughout the course, the current course, although we don't do actually talking head videos on the postgraduate program. Ceiling on age for student loans, is that what you're asking, Polly? Yes, yes, there will be, but again, that will depend on what country you're in. So I would go and have a look at those web pages because it changes, and I don't want to tell you something that's not right. So, so lots of discussion forums, chat sessions. We have some real-time chat sessions, which are optional unless you're on the full-time version, and then they're mandatory. You're assigned a tutor, and most of our tutors are people who've been through the postgraduate program, so we have a lot of experience in the challenges in doing it, kind of the pressure points and the issues around doing it. So tutors provide a lot of support and feedback. They're also the people who mark your work. So yeah, it's usually a really good relationship, and there's not any exams on the postgraduate program. The assessment's all practical in nature, so you're not. A lot of people are very happy about not having to do exams, which would be challenging for us anyway, as it's an online program. So. Great. Oh, you tutor, fabulous. Sorry, I'm looking at the group chat, people asking questions. So, okay, so this is a screen grab from one of the MyPlace sites, and MyPlace is the name of the virtual learning environment that we use for the postgrad course. So it's not as sexy, I suppose, as the Future learning environment, but it works pretty well for what it does. It allows people to upload submissions and for us to mark them. So there's a lot of different things that we ask of the university's virtual learning environment that aren't necessarily happening in at least the online course that you're doing at the moment at Future Learn. So you download the learning materials that we've created. We also record all of those so you can listen to them. And then we do have a number of multimedia presentations, and we try to get in people who are experts in their particular areas. So in this case, this is a bit from the diploma level. So that's the second 60 credit level. And Chris Patton is an excellent researcher and speaker and educator. And he's created a multimedia presentation on doing an Irish house history. It's about 30 minutes long. So we have a number of those throughout the course. So just to give you a flavor of sort of what it looks like. But then we do also have a lot of forums, online forums where people are texting and talking to one another. We post questions on forums and students answer. So it's usually pretty yeah, I suppose lots of sharing. I know there's a lot of students who have WhatsApp groups to support one another and things like that. So it's a pretty good student community overall, I have to say. So entry requirements for the master's degree, we do typically look for an undergraduate degree, but if you don't have an undergraduate degree, I still certainly would strongly urge you to have a look at the master's. I do take good number of people who don't have undergraduate degrees, as long as you can show me that you have the study skills required to do well on the course. And that's really for your benefit as well as our own, because the last thing I want is for somebody to come onto the course who's just overwhelmed and unhappy with being there. And that partly could be that you're not perhaps used to online learning, or just need a bit more, I suppose, uh, uh, maybe taking another course to get yourself used to doing that. So for us, a number of people will take one of our 8-week courses, and they will take that for credit, and that's a good way to get used to studying for credit online, or one of the other learning providers that I'm going to talk about in a second. Um, so, if you've done a lot of training through work, that could very well qualify. So, if you've got questions, it's like, oh, I think that, I might want to do this, but I don't have an undergraduate degree. Would this qualify me? Just shoot me an email and ask me. And the undergraduate degree doesn't have to be related to genealogical work. No, we have had people with a huge range of different undergraduate degrees. Really, having the undergraduate degree tells me that you can work academically at a certain level. You're used to turning work in on time and taking feedback and that kind of thing. So um, I also ask for some experience in genealogical research. So, if you've been looking at your family tree for a couple of years, that's typically enough. You certainly don't have to be an expert to come onto the postgraduate course, and that's what we're helping you to become through the course. So, but just a general level of experience is enough. So, and it's hard for me to quantify that because somebody could have been doing it really intensively for a year, or somebody could have been doing it hardly at all for 10 years, and they've got the same sort of thing. So, if you've got questions on that, just shoot me an email. Yeah, again, we don't care what your undergraduate degree is. So yeah, fees can be found on our website, but it is a lot of money, I have to say. So I think for the first 60 credits for this year, it's just over £3,000. For the full time for this current year, it's just over £8,000. I think it's £8,100. But again, website's got all that information. It changes every year, so. And it's gone up a little bit for next year. I try to keep the fee increase to the bare minimum that the university will allow me to. So so that's stuff about our course. And I went through the course myself. I have an undergraduate degree in history, and I also have an undergraduate degree in costume design. But then I have a master's in library science, and obviously have a real interest in history. And I'm an American. My previous degrees were from the States, so for me coming on and doing I went through the diploma level for the genealogy degree, because at the point I did it, the master's wasn't available. So, and then ended up teaching on the course, which meant that I couldn't do the master's degree. But anyway, but what I found was that there was just a ton to learn, even with my history degree and my library degree. I knew how to research, but learning all of the British resources and research, and just thinking of myself as a genealogist, the course was great for that. And it is a bit like learning a different language, I suppose. Although people I've seen come on the course who've done really well are previous or current police officers, detectives, people who have a really logical mind. So people with, I suppose, IT backgrounds, and it's just science backgrounds as well, because you've got that kind of logical step through, ticking the boxes and getting, and also thinking outside the box too, which is part of what science is about. So different degrees, different backgrounds all bring a good different types of strengths. So, but there is a lot to learn, but it will stretch you, that's for sure. But anyway, I'll stop talking about our course and look at other online providers. So an outfit that I know a number of people have done courses through, and people who come on to the postgraduate course have done courses through are Pharos tutors, and they're online. They're based out of the UK, and they just do a wide range of courses, which you can do both assessed or non-assessed, and they range from different uh, lengths of time. So National Genealogical Society. I'm a member of that. It's an American-based society, and they offer courses to their members. But what I did notice on their website, I was checking this out yesterday, is that there are a good range of learning materials and some materials that you can step through and almost do a course yourself that are available to everyone, whether you're a member or not. But if you are interested in membership, there's a great deal yeah, just things available. So, whoops, sorry, seem to have gone back a step. There we go. And then the other a group that I've done a course through is the National Institute of Genealogical Studies. Now, they're based in Canada, and again, a wide range of courses. All, I mean, you just look at their website, and there's a huge number of things, beginner to advanced, and you have to pay for those. All of these, well, pretty much you have to pay for, aside from the National Genealogical Society, where they do have some free things. But as well as these, I've also done a number of things through the Family Search Wiki. And I know I keep talking about the Family Search Wiki on the course and giving those links, but it is just an amazing resource. And if they don't have courses for every single topic, but sadly, they don't have a web page that just says, here are all of our courses. But if you go into a topic or an area, then look for a link to what will be called a course, but it's not like a real-time course. They're videos basically, and you can take them at any point, which may or may not be what you want. These ones on the slides that I've been talking about are courses that start at a particular time. You go through with a cohort and you have people to basically experience it and to talk with. So, so I can see Polly's asking, can one be assessed as to what level one is at? Well, there are organizations that will do, I suppose, assessment. There's is it BCG, Board of Qualified Genealogists, and you can, and it's really hard. That's really more for people who've been doing genealogy for a good time and have a great amount of skill. But if you're wondering about assessment as to seeing whether or not you can come on to one of our courses, probably the best thing to do is just to email me and talk about, let me know what you've been up to. There's also, as well as BCG, there's also ICAP-GEN. Sorry, I'm using his acronyms, which is terrible. And I'm struggling now it's the Board of Qualified Certified Genealogists, and then oh gosh, ICAP-GEN. Somebody help me out here. Put it in the chat, because I know somebody will know what ICAP-GEN stands for. Yeah, thanks. And then there are, of course, professional bodies like AGRA and ASGRA in the United Kingdom who will, if you want to become a member, they'll assess your work. So, International Commission for the Accreditation of Professional Genealogists. Thank you, Sam. You saved me. Okay, Future Learn courses, because I also want to talk about the Future Learn setting. I did a search yesterday to see what was coming up soon, and what else was out there that I knew that people who are interested in genealogy would be interested in. Not surprisingly, a lot of them are through kind of the history courses subjects area, and this is a nice thing about FutureLearn. You can go in and just see what courses are available for different subjects. So as well as history courses, you may very well be interested in, if you're interested in the whole DNA side of things, there are courses on genetics more broadly that may be of interest to you. There's also quite a few writing courses that are going on or are about to happen. So again, those could be quite useful. But ones that I know, the British Army one that's on the slide, 1815 to 1945, that's a new course. It's just, I think, just about to start in the next couple of weeks. So that looks great. I think I'm going to take that one. Now, the British Army there was a big, long title for that one, and then it said the British Army 1815 to 1945. So I didn't have room on the slide for the full title. But the other one that I just came across is Learning from the Past, a guide for the curious researcher. Now that's more sort of real, I suppose, hardcore history, but it's I think pitched at a beginner level, and great for anybody who's interested in doing historical research. Um, the University of Glasgow does a Scottish paleography course. Now, paleography is the study of old handwriting, which you're all getting your teeth into as you look at old records. So it's a 3-week course, and they do a fair amount on Scottish history as well as looking at the handwriting too. I'm not sure when that one's running next, but again, you can have a look. Each of these courses, individual areas will tell you either it's running now or it's going to be when it will actually be running. So, and then the Working Lives courses, those were actually created by Strathclyde, and you'll see me on those. I have a little cameo. There's 3 of those: railways, coal mines, and textile work. The railways and the coal mine the railways and textile are either running right now or they're just about to start. So coal mines, I think, is scheduled, I think Simon said November, but that might come online quicker depending on the strangeness of the online world that we're all in at the moment. But I think those are 4 weeks apiece. So November. Okay, yeah, great. November for 4 weeks. So, paleography course is running now. Great, thanks, Tom. That's a good update. And Valerie says Army course is due to start on Monday, the 6th of April. Okay, well, I need to get signed up for that. Textile one does include the continent. Now I think it does. Yeah. Yes. So the Working Lives ones, particularly the railway ones, they worked with the Railway Museum down in York. The paleography. It is just Scottish paleography. Although, to be honest, once you start getting your eye in on old documents, then it's going to help you no matter what country you're looking at. So. If you are interested in English paleography, the National Archives has an excellent kind of online tutorial on handwriting. So if you go to the National Archives of Great Britain website and have a look for their handwriting tutorial, it's excellent. They also have one for Latin too. So very good. Let's see, what else am I looking for? Okay, right. So I'm going to talk about family history projects from home. Well, as well as the things I have on the screen, that National Archives handwriting tutorial is great. There's also a Scottish one as well that's offered through the Scottish Council of Scottish Council of Archives. But if you go to the National Records of Scotland website, so I'm just going to try to write these down so I know to put up the URLs for you guys, because I haven't put up those handwriting sites. I'll put those up on the the forum once we're done. So Okay, so somebody saying, yeah, National Archive handwriting is really good, walks you through to advanced absolute beginner. Yeah, they are wonderful. So um, yeah, so indexing, transcribing records. I've got some ones now on here. I've tried to talk about ones that I didn't touch on the course, because if you go back to week 1, I gave some ideas about different transcribing projects, and I'm pretty sure I talked about the Family Search one there. There's a couple of other ones I talked about too. Yes, Sarah, I'm going to put up these slides as a downloadable thing after the presentation. So, well, actually, after the second one. So, as I probably won't have time to do it in between. Um, so I just got an email from the Society of Genealogists. Now these folks are based down in London, but they have volunteering projects for, I think, records that are available from around the UK. So you can email them. They have a lot of different things you can do from home. I mentioned Cindy's list. Kathy's coming up and saying National Archive, U.S. National Archives and Library of Congress voluntary indexing opportunities. That's great. And you probably, well, you may have heard about this one on the news recently, but there's this project to look at old rainfall records. So this is a bit of citizen helping out with science, and they're needing people to look at the old rainfall records, the images of those, and to type them in. I think they're having 4 people do the rainfall. Oh, great! Somebody's doing it. Easy and interesting. That's wonderful. Thank you. So yeah, I think that's. I think the folks behind that project have been blown away by the amount of interest in that. So right, somebody's come up and saying, yes, the mass observation project, which I've got down. Yeah, I didn't realize they were still doing it either. But this is through the Society of Genealogists newsletter that I got yesterday. They were talking about joining the mass observation project. So yeah, they're looking for long-term volunteers, but they're also asking for folks to do a one-day diary on the 12th of May. So if you don't have the interest in doing a long-term thing. So somebody's asking what mass observation diaries are. Oh, somebody's doing it. Great. These were things that were started in the second, well, was it 1937? So and getting people in Britain. So this is something that's just for people living in the UK, getting people to start taking diaries. People from all walks of life, and they're used hugely by historians now. So great things. Um, so other things I was suggesting, yeah, doing oral history with family. So, I know we're all kind of mute up at home and, talking to each other on Zoom or WhatsApp or, whatever, phone. To call my mom every Sunday and we're WhatsApping each other and sending each other images. But I'm thinking also about kids being at home and trying to have some focused things for them to do with other people in the family who may be not under the same roof. So thinking about, doing interviewing of grandparents or not just grandparents, but also, if they have aunts and uncles or cousins or, anybody, that's always the first thing I say to people is to get talking to your family if you have family who around and or family who are willing to talk about your family history. And of course there's I know there are challenges with those types of things too, but just get interviewing, because you never know what's going to happen to people. And it's great to get people's stories, people's memories of things, and that familytreemagazine.com. It's a on their premium site, but what I discovered is I think you can read 3 premium articles a month. So you could go on, look at the interviewing a grandparent. They have questions that you can ask, but they also, I thought quite nicely, had some good ideas about recording if you're wanting to record and that kind of stuff. So And then the other thing I was suggesting was digitizing your family photos. Again, if you're lucky enough to have family photos, this is something that I personally really need to do. Um, and yeah. Um, yeah, and just some ideas there about how to go about digitizing your family photos before you plunge into it. So, like so many things, I would suggest, like Lenovo is suggesting for oral history, worth doing some research first on techniques. So yeah, think about how you're going to approach it first, and both with oral history and digitizing family photos, because it's easy to digitize your photos, but then you know, if you haven't arranged them um, or described them, then suddenly you just have this sort of pile of digital images and no way to know what they actually were. You know, who was that person? So it's helpful to have a bit of software that will allow you to add what's called metadata onto it, and the metadata is information about the image and so kind of more generally. But so I think that's, yeah. So my further information, so my email obviously, and then our webpage too. So information is available about well, the university stuff, both the 8-week and the post-grad things. I should also say that the Center for Lifelong Learning, which is who we're based out of, they're also going to be offering some new online courses. I think from the end of April is what they're aiming for, and they're looking at doing some language courses, some creative writing courses, and a couple of other things too, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But information will be up there on their website. I think the charge for those is going to be around £50. But yeah, again, information will be up on the webpage about those. So, okay, well, I've been wittering on for a good while now. I'll go back to this Family History Projects from Home. So yeah, so I'm happy to take just a couple of more questions, but we probably need to wrap up so we can get ready for the next Zoom thing that's going to happen at 10 minutes past 4, when Graham's going to join me, and we'll talk about, well, he'll talk about all things DNA. My knowledge of DNA is, well, I'm better than I used to be, but it's certainly not my area of expertise. I do have some questions that folks put up on the forums, so I'll be looking at answering some of those. I also will go back and I have been typing in some answers to some of those, some of the more recent questions, and I'll wrap back to the I think it was the second week when people were asking questions. I know I've been bad about that. Oh, right, Simon's saying he's good until 4, so I can keep wittering on. I will go back and have a look at those questions. Last couple of weeks have been pretty manic for us, just getting used to work. I mean, everybody's the same. You're getting used to being at home when you're not usually at home, and working out your systems and being easily distracted. So so right, John's talking about, yeah, war diaries. Yeah, somebody have a question about war diaries that I missed. Um, um, yeah, so war diaries, there's quite a few of those available for British war diaries, available from the National Archives website. And I've been seeing things from the National Archives um, that they're going to start opening up a lot of their digital records that are available from their webpage for free. Right, somebody's saying Genie in that question. I must admit I was, let me go back and see if I can find that. Da, da, da. Ooh, areas, countries that GeniaNet covers. You know, I have signed up for GeniaNet. I've mostly used it for French research, but I am not an expert in that. Um, yeah. Anybody else use GeniaNet on this chat? Yeah, I've just used it and realized that a lot of things that I was using it for were available for free from the French civil registrar websites. So I stopped using it. Um, sorry, Ray and Silva, I'm really not a great person to give you more information about GeniaNet. So yeah, sorry. French websites. Oh, right. Okay. So, Natalie, using it for corroborating. Okay, brilliant. Um, French websites. Well, again, I would go on to Family Search Wiki and have a look at researching in France. There are a good number of the département archives that have a huge number of records available to download for free. Um, what's the other one? Um, da, da, da. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on the French database. One of our students does research in France, and she's always telling me about this database. I will find that and put it up. So yeah, there's some great sources for France now that are available online. Right, people are saying, brace yourself before reading. Yes, indeed, it does make the experience very real. That's for sure. Philae. Yes, I think it might have been Philae that Lucy was telling me about. It's been a good 4 months since I talked to her about this, so my memory is. I have to write everything down, otherwise I can't remember it. So, um, right. Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll wrap up. I'll go drink some water and get ready for the next chat and see if Graham's emailed me about all the questions that I sent him. So great. Oh, yes, you're very welcome. Yeah. Okay. Right. Using Fila and GNet, both very good. Wonderful. Okay, good stuff. Well, as I said, I'll put these slides up. If you've got questions, ask on the forums or email me, and happy to be in touch with folks. So yeah, great. Thanks everybody. Thanks so much for being on. It's really lovely. No, no, it's a different URL, Valerie, for the next Zoom. So come out of this one and then log back in. So yeah.